Hello and welcome back to the Handsome Trader channel. I am so incredibly hyped to have you here with us today. Whether you are tuning in from a high-rise in New York, a flat in London, maybe a rainy afternoon in Frankfurt, or, anywhere else in this beautiful world, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and just clear your headspace. Because today we are going to do something a little bit different. Usually we're down in the trenches. We're looking at specific chart patterns. We are arguing about what the Federal Reserve is going to do next, or we're obsessing over interest rates. But today we are zooming out. We're going deep, and I mean really deep, into the machine that actually pulls the trigger. We're talking about the mind.
It is good to be here, and you are so right. The mind is, without a doubt, the most expensive piece of equipment any trader owns. If that machine breaks, the charts, the indicators, the news, it simply does not matter.
Exactly. And, before we dive into the abyss, I have a massive favor to ask you. If you get any value out of our discussion today, if it saves you money or maybe just saves your sanity, please smash that like button. It really helps the algorithm find other traders who need to hear this. Share this deep dive with a friend who is, currently struggling in the trenches. And please subscribe to the channel to support us with your whole heart. We appreciate you more than you know.
Absolutely. This community is something special, and your support is what keeps this whole thing going.
Okay, let's set the stage. Today's deep dive is based on a fascinating and frankly kind of terrifying breakdown of the trader's journey called 3 Brutal Stages Every Profitable Trader Must Survive. And I want to lean on that word, survive. We often talk about strategy, about maximizing returns, about, entry and exit points, but today we are talking about survival.
Survival is the perfect word for it. It really is. Because the reality of the markets, especially the highly competitive U.S. and European markets, is that they're essentially efficient meat grinders.
Wow. A meat grinder.
They are. They are designed mathematically and psychologically to wash you out. They are designed to transfer money from the impatient to the patient. And if you do not survive the transition through these stages, you simply never get to the profit.
We have all seen the statistics. I mean, the failure rate is incredibly high, something like 90%. And usually when we talk about why people fail, we say things like, oh, they didn't have a stop loss, or they over-leveraged their account. But looking at our source material today, it seems like those are just symptoms. The real reason is something much more internal. It's almost spiritual.
It is. I think that's a great way to put it. It is psychological and it is character-based. Most people come into this game thinking it is an academic pursuit. They think, if I can just memorize the textbook, if I can just learn what a head and shoulders pattern is, or, how to read an RSI indicator, then I will be rich.
Right. It's like school. That's exactly how we were raised. You study for the test, you get an A, you get a good job. Input equals output.
Exactly. That is the mindset we are trained in from childhood, specifically in the Western world. But the market doesn't care about your grades. The market doesn't care where you went to university. The premise of what we are unpacking today is that the journey to profitability isn't about learning more. It is not about adding more indicators to your screen or buying another monitor. It is about becoming someone different.
That is a heavy concept. Becoming someone different. It sounds like we aren't just talking about a skill upgrade. We are talking about a full-on personality transplant.
In a way, yes. It is a furnace, a crucible. You go in as one thing, you get burned, you get melted down, and you come out as steel. Or you turn to ash.
Those are the options.
Those are pretty much the only 2 options. The source material outlines 3 distinct stages, and most people fail at stage 1. They just get wiped out. The survivors, the ones who make it through, they often burn out in stage 2, and the very few who make it to stage 3. They are unrecognizable compared to the person they were when they started.
Unrecognizable. I love that. Well, I hope everyone listening is ready to become steel. Let's walk through this fire. Let's start with stage 1. The source calls this the slaughter of certainty. That sounds incredibly violent.
It is descriptive, isn't it? The slaughter of certainty. This is the beginner phase. But it is not just about being a newbie. It is not just about inexperience. It is about the specific mindset you bring into the market. Think about the profile of a typical new trader, maybe in the US or Europe, Who are they usually?
Well, usually they're people who have some money to invest, right?
Yeah.
So they have been successful in other areas of life. Maybe they're engineers, doctors, entrepreneurs, lawyers. They're smart people. They're used to winning.
Exactly. High achievers. That's the key. They're used to being the smartest person in the room. They're used to solving problems. If the engine is broken, the engineer opens the hood and fixes it. If the patient is sick, the doctor runs the tests and cures them. If the case is hard, the lawyer researches until they find the precedent that wins.
Right. They are used to a world where effort directly correlates with success. If I work harder, if I study more, I get better results. Simple.
Precisely. And that intelligence, that high achiever mindset, in stage 1, it is your worst enemy. We call this the smart person fallacy. You enter the market with this supreme confidence. You think, I have studied the charts, I have back-tested the data, I am disciplined. You have the certainty that if you do X, Y will happen.
Because that's how the rest of the world works. If I put the key in the ignition and turn it, the car starts. Cause and effect. It's reliable.
But the market is not a machine in that sense. It is not deterministic. It is probabilistic. And stage 1 exists for one reason and one reason only: to destroy your ego and that dangerous sense of certainty.
Let's pause there for a second. Deterministic versus probabilistic.
Hmm.
I feel like we nod our heads at those words, but we don't really feel the weight of them. Can you break that down in a really practical way?
Sure. A deterministic system is like a bridge. If you calculate the physics correctly and you build it with the right grade of steel, the bridge stands up 100% of the time. If it falls, you made a mistake. You did the math wrong. That is deterministic.
Okay, clear. 1 + 1 = 2.
Right. A probabilistic system is more like a game of poker or even weather forecasting. You can do everything right. You can have the best hand at the table. You can make the mathematically correct bet based on the odds. And you can still lose because of the luck of the draw. The river card can kill you.
So the engineer comes into trading, builds his perfect bridge, which is his strategy, and then the market just randomly blows it down. And his brain breaks.
His brain rejects reality. It cannot compute. He thinks, I must have calculated wrong. The steel was bad. I need to study more.
Wow.
He doesn't understand that you can build the bridge perfectly and it can still fall down 40% of the time.
40%. Wow.
And that's if you have a good system. A 60% win rate is considered fantastic in this business.
And here's the tricky part. It usually doesn't destroy you with one giant catastrophic loss.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like you walk in and lose your house on day 1.
Rarely. It's much more insidious than that. It is death by 1,000 cuts.
Oof. That sounds so much worse.
It is worse because it is prolonged torture. It grinds you down. Imagine this scenario, and I know a lot of listeners have lived this. You analyze the S&P 500 perfectly. You spot the support level. You see the volume coming in. You check the macroeconomic calendar. Everything aligns. You enter the trade. And it immediately stops you out. You lose money.
Okay, so naturally you think, I missed something. The classic, what did I do wrong?
Exactly. You immediately assume the fault is yours. You think, I made a mistake. So you go back to the lab, you stare at the chart for hours, you tweak the strategy, you say, I see, maybe I should have used the 15-minute chart instead of the 5-minute chart. Or I should have waited for the RSI to be more oversold. You research more, you find a new wrinkle. You enter the next trade with even more confidence because you fixed the problem, and you lose again.
And the cycle repeats. And with every loss, a little piece of your confidence just ships away.
Over and over and over, you start blaming everything. You blame your stop-loss placement. You blame the broker for stop hunting. You blame the time of day. You blame a tweet from a central banker. This leads to the classic behavior of stage 1, the strategy hopper.
I think we've all been there. I know I have. You buy a new course that promises the secret. You download a new indicator that lights up green when you should buy. You follow some guy on Twitter who claims to have a 90% win rate. You are desperately looking for the magic bullet.
You are looking for certainty. That's the root of it all. You are looking for the thing that stops the pain of losing. You are trying to engineer the risk out of the market, but the market is trying to teach you something, and you aren't listening. The market is trying to convince you to quit by proving that your goals are impossible. It is grinding down your psychology every single day.
So what is the lesson? If the market is just beating you up constantly, what are you supposed to learn from that beating?
The source material puts it very, very bluntly. The lesson is that you know nothing.
That is humbling, especially for our doctor or our engineer friend who is used to knowing everything.
It has to be. The epiphany, the moment you actually start to survive stage one, is when you realize that your analysis, no matter how sophisticated it is essentially meaningless in terms of predicting the future with certainty.
Wait, let's unpack that, because that sounds almost nihilistic. If analysis is meaningless, why do we look at charts? Why are we even here having this conversation?
It's a critical distinction. Analysis gives you an edge, a probability, but it does not give you a prediction. And there is a huge, huge difference between those two things. The brain, especially a smart analytical brain, tries to create order out of chaos. It wants to build a narrative. It wants to say, because of this pattern, the price will go up. But the reality is, because of this pattern, the price has a 60% chance of going up.
And that means there is a 40% chance it goes down. And that 40% feels like 100% when it happens to you.
It feels like a personal attack. And here's where the math gets brutal on your psychology. Because of variance, you can do everything right. Perfect analysis, perfect execution, perfect risk management, and get stopped out 5 times in a row.
5 times.
Yeah.
Just on bad luck.
Easily. It is just variance. It is like flipping a coin. You know the odds are 50-50, but it's entirely possible to get tails 5 times in a row. The coin doesn't owe you a heads.
That would destroy most people's confidence in their strategy. They'd throw it in the trash.
And that is exactly what it does. That's why people strategy hop. Think about it in another context. If you are shooting a basketball and you miss the hoop 5 times in a row, what do?
You assume your form is wrong. You change your shot. You adjust your elbow or your follow-through.
Exactly. You assume the error is in your execution. But in trading, you can have perfect form and still miss 5 times just because of the randomness inherent in the system. And your brain tells you to fix your form when your form was never the problem. The problem was your expectation of certainty.
That is a crucial distinction. In sports, if you miss, it's usually your fault. In trading, you could lose, and it's not your fault in terms of your execution. It's just the cost of doing business.
Exactly. And the source uses a great comparison to illustrate this. If your strategy hits its profit target 5 times in a row, you don't think it's magic. You don't question it. You think, this is normal. My system works. But if you lose 5 times in a row, it feels like the apocalypse. It feels like the universe is conspiring against you. But both outcomes are just probabilities playing out. One feels good, one feels terrible, but they are mathematically the same thing, variance.
So the survivor of stage 1 is the person who stops taking the losses personally.
The survivor is the person who finally truly surrenders. There is a personal anecdote in our source material that I found really powerful. This trader, he spent 8 months in stage 1. 8 months of just bleeding money day after day.
8 months is a long time to be failing. That is a lot of mornings waking up feeling like a complete loser.
It is an eternity when you are losing your own money every single day. And he was doing the work. I mean, this guy was not lazy. He was studying volume profiles, order flow, institutional positioning, really advanced, complex stuff. He had spreadsheets, algorithms, multiple monitors. He was putting in the hours, but he kept losing.
So what changed? Did he finally find a better algorithm? A secret indicator?
No, nothing like that. The turning point was a moment of total and complete defeat. He sat in front of his screen after another loss, looked at his P&L bleeding red, and he just said out loud to an empty room, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow, that was the breakthrough. It wasn't finding a new strategy. It was admitting that he couldn't predict the future. It was the death of his ego.
Yeah.
Once he accepted that certainty is an illusion, he stopped trying to be right and started just trying to manage risk.
That is a massive mental shift. Moving from, I need to be right, to, I need to manage the fact that I am probably going to be wrong a lot.
That is the ticket out of stage 1. That is the graduation requirement. You have to surrender the need to be the smartest person in the room. You have to accept that you are not special, and the market doesn't owe you anything for your hard work.
Okay, so let's say our listener is nodding along. They've been through that fire. They have been humbled. They have realized they can't predict the future. They have a system that puts the odds slightly in their favor, and they accept the risk. They have survived the slaughter. Now they enter stage 2.
Stage 2, the discipline of waiting.
Now, honestly, this sounds like it should be the easy part. It feels like the hard work is done. You have the system. You have the right mindset. You know you can't predict the future. So just follow the rules and count the money, right?
You would think so. You would absolutely think that's the case. But the source material describes this stage as a shift from the pain of cluelessness to the pain of boredom. And believe it or not, for many traders, stage 2 is even harder, even more psychologically taxing than stage 1.
Why? How can it be harder if you aren't losing money because of ignorance anymore?
Because now the torture changes its form. In stage 1, you were losing money because you were wrong, your analysis was flawed, your expectations were wrong. In stage 2, you lose money because you cannot sit still.
Ah, the itch. The need to do something.
The itch. That's a perfect way to put it. Let's paint a picture here. You have a disciplined edge. You've found a system that works for you. Let's say you trade a very specific setup on the Euro-USD pair during the London session. It's a great setup, high probability, good risk to reward. But here's the catch. It only appears, on average, maybe twice a week.
2 trades a week. That's it. That sounds like nothing.
That's it. That is your edge. Your entire business model is based on waiting for those 2 specific moments.
But the market is open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. That means there are roughly 100, 120 hours where the market is moving, and you are supposed to do what exactly? Stare at the screen.
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer is yes. The other 99% of the time, your job is to do absolutely nothing. You are a sniper, lying in the grass, completely still, waiting for the high-value target to appear in your scope. You cannot fire at the trees. You cannot fire at the clouds just because you're bored. You have to wait.
But we are human beings, and specifically, as you said, we're Westerners. We are wired to work. The Protestant work ethic is burned into our DNA. If you want to make more money, you work more hours. You lay more bricks. You write more code. You see more patients.
Exactly. In almost every other profession on earth, output is directly correlated with effort. If you are a salesperson and you make 100 calls, you will almost certainly sell more than if you make 10 calls. But in trading, more action, more trades often equals less money.
That is so profoundly counterintuitive. It goes against everything our parents and teachers ever taught us.
It is. It's what the source calls the addiction to action. You are sitting there, you're staring at the screen, you see the candles moving. Green, red, green, red. You see other assets going wild. Oh, look, gold is spiking. Look at the NASDAQ. Tesla's up 5%. And you are sitting on your hands because your specific setup isn't there. You start to feel lazy.
Guilt. You feel guilty, like you're not earning your keep.
Yes, guilt. That is the perfect word. You feel guilty that you are working but not doing anything. You feel like you aren't being productive. You see your friends going to their 9-to-5 jobs. They're sweating, they're stressed, they're in meetings, and you are sitting there in your pajamas watching a chart do absolutely nothing. So what happens? You invent a reason to trade.
You start seeing things that aren't there. You start hallucinating setup.
You do. You squint at the screen, you draw a new trend line, you say, well, okay, this isn't my perfect A+ setup, but it's close. It's a B-.
It's good enough.
It's good enough. I'll just take a small position, just to stay engaged, just to feel the market.
It's a small position. Famous last words in trading.
The most dangerous words in trading, without a doubt. Because here is the trap, and this is so crucial for people in stage 2 to understand. Sometimes those bad rule-breaking trades make money.
Oh, that's the worst, isn't it? That is the absolute worst thing that can happen.
It is the worst possible outcome. We call it the random win. Look, if you break your rules and you lose money, the market punishes you instantly. That is good feedback. It hurts, but it teaches you. Don't touch the hot stove. But if you break your rules and you make money,
your brain thinks you are a genius.
Yeah.
It thinks you just discovered a new, better way to trade.
Your brain learns the wrong lesson. It thinks, aha, being undisciplined gets rewarded. I don't have to wait. It is like giving a dog a steak for peeing on the rug. You are reinforcing the very behavior that will eventually destroy your account.
That is such a good analogy. You are literally training yourself to fail in the long run.
Exactly. You are sabotaging your own edge. You are taking a system that has a positive expectancy over 100 trades, and you're diluting it with dozens of 0 or negative expectancy trades. Just because you are bored or feel guilty, you're poisoning your own results.
It really comes down to self-worth, doesn't it? The source mentions relying on the market to feel productive.
That is the psychological root of the entire problem. You are dependent on the market for your dopamine hit. For your sense of validation, you need to click the button to feel like a trader.
So he was just spinning his wheels. Profitable one day, giving it all back the next.
Exactly, just breaking even over and over while working incredibly hard and feeling immense stress. It's a special kind of hell.
How did he break the cycle? What was the moment of clarity for him?
It was a shift in perspective, a reframing of what success looked like on a daily basis. He talks about a specific day where he sat through an entire trading session, I think it was 8 hours. And during that time, he saw 5 setups that were almost there. They were like 90% good, but not 100%. They didn't meet every single one of his criteria.
Tempting. Very, very tempting. That's where the demons whisper in your ear.
Extremely tempting. He said his finger was literally hovering over the mouse button for each one. The urge to click was overwhelming, but he didn't click. He sat on his hands. He watched them go by. Some worked, some failed. And at the end of the day, he closed his laptop having taken 0 trades. And for the first time in his career, instead of feeling lazy or guilty or like he'd wasted a day, he felt proud.
He realized that doing nothing was a successful action.
Precisely. That is the key insight for stage 2. Not doing anything is often the highest conviction trade you can make. It is an active choice to protect your capital. It's a defensive move. When you can feel proud of a day with 0 trades, that is the moment you are ready to graduate from stage 2.
I love that. Doing nothing is a trade.
Yeah.
That is something you need to write on a sticky note and put on your monitor because capital preservation is the name of the game. If you run out of chips, you can't play.
Absolutely. You are protecting your ammunition, your dry powder, for the moment the real A-plus opportunity arrives.
Okay, this is incredible. So we have survived the slaughter of certainty in stage 1. We have mastered the discipline of waiting in stage 2. We are patient. We are humble. We don't need to click buttons to feel valid. Now we enter the Holy Land. Stage 3, becoming the market.
This is where things get weird and a little esoteric, but in a good way.
The source describes this as entering a flow state.
Yes. If stage 1 is a bloody fight, and stage 2 is a grueling struggle for discipline, stage 3 is a dance. You stop fighting the market. You stop trying to impose your will on it. You start flowing with it. You're in sync with its rhythm.
The analogy used in the source, which I loved, is the master pianist.
It is a beautiful analogy, isn't it? Think about a concert pianist on stage. When they're playing a complex piece by Chopin or Rachmaninoff, are they thinking about where their fingers go? Are they thinking, okay, middle C is here, now I need to move my thumb to F sharp, then my pinky to B flat?
No way. If they had to think about it, they couldn't possibly play it. It's too fast. It has to be automatic. Muscle memory.
Exactly. It is unconscious competence. They aren't thinking, they're just playing. The music flows through them. That is what happens to a trader in stage 3. You see a setup on the chart that matches your plan and you execute. Instantly. There is no internal debate. There is no hesitation. There's no should I, shouldn't I. The question mark is gone.
So the fear is gone too. The fear of being wrong.
The fear is gone because the ego is gone. You aren't worried about being wrong anymore because you fully, deeply accept that you will be wrong 40 or 50% of the time. You know that losses are just the cost of doing business. It's an operating expense. It's like a restaurant paying for ingredients. A restaurant owner doesn't cry when they have to buy tomatoes.
Right.
They know the tomatoes are a necessary expense to sell the pasta, which is where the profit is. Losses are your tomatoes.
That is a great way to put it. Losses are just inventory. They are the cost of finding the wins.
Exactly. You just execute the system mechanically without emotion.
This sounds like nirvana. This is the goal. This is what everyone wants. Lamborghinis, beaches, money printing machines. Is that the reality of stage 3? Is it all champagne and parties?
Chuckles. Well, I wish I could say yes. I really do. But the source material throws a huge, huge bucket of ice water on that fantasy.
Uh-oh. I was afraid of that. What's the catch?
The catch,
Yeah.
the final trap, is that success in trading, real sustainable professional success, is incredibly boring.
Boring. But the movies, the TV shows, it's all guys yelling buy, sell, and throwing phones and having heart attacks from the stress and excitement.
That is Hollywood. That is gambling. That is stage 1 behavior with more zeros. Real professional trading is mechanical. It is emotionless. It is routine. You show up, you wait for your setup, you click a button, you manage the risk, you close the trade, you document it, repeat. It is closer to being a worker on a factory assembly line than being a rock star on stage.
So the final trap of stage 3 is actually boredom. That's the last boss you have to fight.
Extreme boredom. And this is where the final demons, the last vestiges of your old self, come out to play. Traders in stage 3, believe it or not, often start to miss the chaos of stage 1. They miss the adrenaline. They miss the high highs and the low lows. They miss the emotional roller coaster.
It's like a soldier coming back from a war and missing the combat. Peace feels too quiet. It feels wrong.
That is a very, very apt comparison. The quiet of consistent, predictable profitability can feel empty to someone who is, deep down, addicted to the drama of gambling. The silence is deafening. So what do? They self-sabotage. They start pressing buttons just to feel something.
So they prefer the feeling of excitement and losing over the feeling of boredom and winning.
It sounds insane when you say it out loud, but human beings are emotional creatures. We crave stimulation. We want to feel alive. The source says it explicitly, and it's a quote worth remembering. Boredom pays. Excitement costs.
Boredom pays, excitement costs.
Wow.
That hits hard. So basically, if you are having fun trading, you are probably losing money.
In the long run, almost certainly. If your heart is racing, if your palms are sweating, if you're checking your phone every 5 seconds, you are likely over-leveraged or breaking your rules. You're gambling. If you are calm, detached, and maybe even a little bit bored, you are probably doing it right.
The expert in the source says he has been in stage 3 for 2 years. Does he still struggle with this boredom?
He admits he does. He says he sometimes misses the survival mode of stage 1. He misses the feeling that every trade is life or death, the intensity. But then he looks at his equity curve, a slow, steady, boring upward slope from compound growth. And that is the trade-off. No drama, just results.
It seems like the entire journey is really about stripping things away. It's a process of subtraction, not addition. You don't add more indicators, you remove more ego.
That is the perfect way to summarize the conclusion of this deep dive. The source calls it the furnace or the crucible for a reason. It burns away the impurities.
Let's recap that transformation one more time for everyone listening, just to lock it in.
Absolutely. Stage 1 kills your certainty. It strips away the arrogance that you can predict the future. It forces you to be humble.
Right. The slaughter of certainty.
Stage 2 kills your impatience. It strips away the need to be constantly busy to feel valuable. It teaches you the power of sitting still.
Check. The discipline of waiting.
And stage 3 kills your ego. It strips away your need for excitement and validation from the market. It leaves you as a machine-like executor of probability.
It is not a curriculum. It is a transformation of character. You know, listening to all of this, I bet a lot of our listeners are trying to figure out where they are right now on this map.
It is a good exercise. It's important to self-diagnose. Let's give them a quick checklist based on the source so they can pinpoint their location.
Okay, hit me. Let's do it.
All right. If you are changing strategies every few weeks, if you are still looking for that holy grail indicator on a forum, if you are blaming the market, your broker, or the news for your losses, you are in stage 1.
Guilty as charged in my past.
Okay.
Next.
If you know the rules, you have a solid plan, but you keep breaking them because you are bored or anxious. Or if you feel the desperate need to make back a loss immediately after it happens, you are in stage 2.
The 2 trades a week problem. The pain of discipline.
Exactly. And finally, if you are profitable, you are consistent, but you find yourself tempted to take huge, risky trades just to feel a rush of adrenaline. If you are bored with winning small and consistently, you are struggling with the final trap of stage 3.
That is an incredibly powerful and clear roadmap. It's comforting in a strange way, because if you are suffering in one of these stages, it doesn't mean you are a failure, it just means you're on the path.
No, not at all. You're not failing. If you are suffering, you are learning. You are in the furnace. Stage 1 demands humility. Stage 2 demands the endurance to do nothing. Stage 3 demands the acceptance of a quiet routine. The goal isn't just to make money. The goal is to become the person who can look at raw, unfiltered uncertainty without fear.
That is beautiful. The person who can look at uncertainty without fear. I think that applies to so much more in life, not just trading.
It applies to everything: parenting, relationships, starting a business. Uncertainty is the fabric of life. Trading just forces you to confront it directly, minute by minute, with real money on the line. There's no hiding from it.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question. For the listener who is right now stuck deep in stage 1 or stage 2, and they feel like giving up, they feel like the market is just too brutal, that it's an impossible game, what is the one thing they need to hold on to keep going?
That is a great question, I think. They need to hold on to the fact that the market is neutral. It is not your enemy. It is not attacking you personally. It is just a mirror. It is just providing feedback. Every time you feel pain in the market, fear, greed, anger, it is highlighting a flaw in your character. It's pointing to your ego, your impatience, your need for control. Instead of getting mad at the market, look inward. The market is your teacher. Fix the flaw in yourself, and the trading results will eventually follow.
Fix the human, and you fix the P&L.
Exactly right.
This has been an absolutely incredible deep dive. To our expert, thank you. Thank you for walking us through this brutally honest roadmap. It wasn't sugar-coated, but I think that is exactly what we all needed to hear.
My pleasure. It is a hard road, there is no doubt about it. But for those who survive, it is worth it.
To our listeners, remember, this is a game of long-term survival. Stay humble, stay patient, and try to embrace the boredom.
And please do not forget the risks involved.
Absolutely. I need to be very, very clear about this next part, so please listen closely. The content in this video is for knowledge sharing and personal experience purposes only. It is not investment advice. Financial investment always carries risks. Viewers need to do their own research and take full responsibility for all of their decisions.
Always, always protect your downside. That's job number one.
This is the Handsome Trader signing off. Stay disciplined, keep learning, and we will see you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care.